Star Wars, got to throw that in there, because was it hard to walk away from that franchise, or do you feel that it's in good hands and you did the absolute best to get this new generation of the franchise going?
I could not feel luckier to have been involved in that. I love Star Wars. I was worried. My biggest selfish concern was that after having been involved in it, I wouldn't love it. Like the idea that it would somehow ruin this thing that was so...
You've been a fan of so long, and now that you're in the grind, it's like, I don't like this anymore.
Like, is it getting too close to the thing? But I will say it's different because of the experience, but I love it as much. So I'm incredibly grateful and nothing more. In terms of what comes next, I'm exec producer of 8 and 9. Ryan has just done an extraordinary job. I can't wait to see what comes next.
Did you find, I didn't think about this, but I saw a lot on the internet about the title of the next movie, The Last Jedi, that they thought it was one particular person, like maybe it was Rey or something like that, but Jedi is plural. So it could be like it's The Last Jedi, meaning the whole religion of the whole thing.
That's true.
Is there anything to that, or...
There could be.
Too direct. Okay, I figured. Just thought I'd throw it out there and see if anything would come from that. But yeah, a lot of people were just like, oh, it means this, it means this. But if you look at it at a broader spectrum, it's just like, it means a lot of things. Right. So the title can be misleading, or it could be dead on accurate. I guess you don't know until you see the movie.
There's no question that they didn't name the movie without a lot of consideration.
Right.
So clearly it's meant to raise these kind of questions.
Also,
what are you pulling out of your bag? What is that?
Wanted to ask you about this, because this was a character that was developed, but I guess was cut out of the movie. Constable Zuvio?
There he is.
Yeah. What can you
Black series.
Yeah,
it's
what
nice.
can you tell me about this? Because I know the product line is done way in advance, so they put it out, but he wound up getting cut from the movie, so he's not technically in the story.
The movie was originally called Star Wars Constable Zuvio, and we were like...
It was 5 minutes.
Does anyone understand what that is? This was a character, and there are many of them, that was created as to populate Jakku, and so it was a really amazing thing working with the Neil Scanlon and the creature department, working with the production designers on the movie, working with the special effects and visual effects, creating the characters. There were so many different worlds and places. Like when you think about what had to be on Jakku to make you feel like, okay, that was a place that had enough and a sort of diverse enough group of species and characters that you would feel like you'd get the vibe of it. But meanwhile, we obviously had things like, going to Maz Kanata's castle, where you had to have a completely different and motley group of people, and it had to feel like maybe there's some overlap, but it's a very different place. So this is one of the characters that we developed that was for Jakku, that was just featured in it. There was no dialogue for this particular character, but we literally once we chose characters we loved, we would talk about kind of where they were from, kind of what they might be, and it's the thing that I think for me as a 10-year-old, I remember, made Star Wars, the very first one, so powerful, that you heard about things but you didn't necessarily see them, or you got a glimpse of something but you didn't necessarily understand all the details, but you could feel that they were so deeply considered. So that, even though at the time, who knows exactly what George Lucas knew about the Clone Wars, or what the Senate really looked like, or who the Emperor might have been. These are things you didn't really see, but what were referenced. As a viewer, you just go, ooh, there's that feeling you have when you see, Boba Fett for The Flash, for the first time. Like you don't really get to know much about that character unless you start reading expanded, universe stuff. That character is one of those, one of the characters that we thought we want to have sort of in the movie, but in truth, we had so many bigger concerns, and there were so many more important things that we were dealing with. So we would have these characters that we thought, like, oh, we will bring them up if and when it feels right to. As we, for example, Captain Phasma was a character that we all just loved from the beginning. We loved the look, we loved the feel, we loved that she was female, we loved
shiny,
shiny. But obviously there wasn't an enormous amount of room for that character to do a lot. But we just thought this part of what the mission of The Force Awakens was to plant a bunch of seeds of things that in the moment we had ideas about and answers for, but knew that they were potentially worthy of exploration, and that character was just one of those.
It's understandable things get cut either for time or they just don't work as the story evolves. But did you run into much interference for things that you wanted to put in the movie but had to be taken out, or is it pretty much they know what you're doing, go and see what you can do with it?
Yeah, no, Kathy Kennedy and Larry Kasdan and I, at the very beginning, it was pretty clear that they were really open to what we wanted to do, and the truth is that they've got a big job overseeing not just what the movies are, but what will happen in all mediums, and that toy line, the toy you just held up, it's like they've got to be thinking about all of this stuff, and that's a big job and really a good question for Kathy, but they were completely open to the story we wanted to tell, and I know that as it continues and Kathy's leading this charge, I'm sure she's juggling a whole bunch of things as it goes, but there's no one better qualified for that job than Kathy.
One little sidebar with Star Wars, and then I want to get into Cloverfield if we could.
Sure.
Are you aware in the original Muppet Show, there's a scene with Mark Hamill and Kermit the Frog, and they're singing When You Wish Upon a Star? It's like amazing foreshadowing that all those properties become Disney way in the future.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that, but I'm sure I saw it. But it's because as you're saying it, I'm having this weird sense memory of having seen it. But if I have, it was probably when it first aired.
Yeah. No, Easter egg. Nobody knew back then. It was just a bizarre coincidence that you watch and you go, oh my God, you get chills seeing that.
Wouldn't it be weird if Winnie Pooh was walking in the background and Mickey Mouse?
It's they had this. This was a long con. They had this planned forever.
That was where their strategy comes from. Is they watch the Muppet Show and they buy whatever's there.